Hey everybody, so it's time to move on to our third wall of the residential room that we are designing. This one is the scaled 10-foot wall with the door. So we're going to do the floor plan, the wall plan for that. The information here on the side, I want you to go ahead and write that in. So pause this video and write that in. I'm going to run through it real quick though. You're going to put your name, tell me what room you are designing, what wall plan this is for. This is for the 10-foot wall with the door. Reminding you of those dimensions. The door width is going to be 2 feet 6 inches. The door height is going to be 6 foot 9, so 6 foot 9 inches. The door again is going to be 2 feet 6 inches off the left corner, and our scale is still the same. The scale for 1 inch square like this, 1 inch square, that's going to equal 1 foot, and one of these tiny little squares will equal 3 inches. So go ahead, pause the video, and write in that information. I'm going to go ahead and proceed. So we have a 10-foot wall. Now I'm going to start in this corner, in the left-hand corner. So that's going to be 0. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there is my 10 feet. So 0 all the way to 10. Then I'm going to go ahead and make that line. Make sure it's straight. And then we are going to go up 8 because our walls again are 8 foot high. So again, this is 0. And that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right up here is 8. I'm going to connect those two dots, lining it up, making sure it's straight. There we go. Again, we're going over 10, just double checking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 for my 10-foot wall. Lining up my dots, make sure my line is straight. Holding that ruler, which of course you're using a ruler. And I'm going to come down and finish up my wall there. So do my dimensioning from this line here and this line here, drawing my dimensioning arrows. This is 8 feet, and the dimensions on the top from here to here, drawing my dimensioning arrows. Bam, bam. That is 10 foot. All right, so we're going to do the studs slightly different. We're going to do, and we're going to name some parts. So I want you to learn some vocabulary. So I'm going to do the thickness of down here. Remember, when I put that piece of wood, I'm putting it on its side, and that's only about a half a square. So I'm going to count for that thickness right now. So vocabulary. This is called a sole bottom plate. So I want to start labeling some vocabulary. So this is what the terms would be if you were in construction or you're having a house built or you're going to do some remodeling in your future home. This is called the bottom sole, S-O-L-E, plate. So it has a name. Then up at the top, when we put our piece of wood up there, and again, we're going to go that on. I want to make sure that this is 8 foot, so I'm putting the thickness on the outside. And again, I'm going about a half square because it's about 1.5 inches thick, actual size. This is called, putting an arrow there, this is called the top plate. Top, T-O-P-E plate. So I got my bottom sole plate done. I got my top plate done. Now I'm going to do the side studs. Side studs again are going on the inside because my length is 10 foot, so the studs are going inside there. So I'm going to put my stud in. And I'm going to put my other stud in. Oops. All right, so stud, labeling that stud, S-T-U-D, stud. All right, doing the inside slightly different. Before, we can just put in our studs at 16-inch centers. So for this one, I'm just going to mark where the studs are going to go because then I have to frame out my door. So just like before, we're going to go 5 and then put a stud, 5 and put a stud. So not counting that first one because it's a half, and that's going to count for our 16-inch center. Not counting that one, but going in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm just going to make a mark where the stud would go up at the top and the bottom. Ooh, right there. So I'm just making a mark, and I'm going to put an X because that's where my stud is going to go. It's going to lay, once I have that there, it's going to lay this way. All right. So again, I'm going to count out, skip that half of one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a line there, put an X because that's where the stud is going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a line there, put an X because that's where the stud is going. Again, the stud's going to go right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a line, put an X for the stud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a line, put an X for the stud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 15 inches. Put a line, put an X for the stud. Here, I don't need to add another stud. Anything less than 16-inch centers is fine. Okay, so I have my studs laid out. My door, remember the door is 2 feet 6 inches off the left corner. So going to the left corner, I have to figure out where my door is going to go. All right, so that is, from there, that's 1 foot, 2 foot. I'm not counting that stud's distance. So 1 foot, 2 foot, and then 3 inches, and then my other 3 inches, that'll give me 6. So running through that again, we're going to just count this as 1 foot, 2 foot, and then 3 inches. 3 inches plus another 3, that's 6. So here's the opening of my door. I'm just going to get it started there so you could see. All right. And then the door height is 6 feet 9 inches. So from here is 0. That's 1 foot, 2 feet, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet plus another 9 inches. So that's 3, 6, 9. So that means the height of my door is right there. So I'm actually going to draw the outline of my door on one side, going straight down, and it's going to come across this way. So again, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet, 3, 6, 9 inches. So the door width was 2 feet 6. So that's 3, 6, and then another 2 feet, 1, 2. So my door is going to go right there. All right. So again, that's 1 foot, 2 foot, plus 3, plus another 3, that's my 6. All right. In fact, I'm going to put my dimensions right there. So my door, if I could extend those lines all the way up to there, putting my dimension arrows, that's going to be 2 feet 6 inches. So now I'm going to connect that. So this is why I didn't put a stud in. See, 2 studs will actually run through there, which we don't want to put a stud right through your door. So we're going to have to keep that there. So that reminds us we're going to put studs at the top in those places. All right. All right. So now the next thing, doors have to be framed out. So we call those trimmers. So we're going to put in trimming board. So they'll have a trimmer board right there. And it's going to go all the way around. So let me just break that off. So another piece would go there. And then you're going to have your trim coming out. So we're framing out the door. So again, those pieces are going on the side. And they only go to the height of that. So I'm going to put in my framing. And again, this is about a half of one. So half of those squares coming down, which is like 1.5 inches. And I'm going to do it here. Okay, so that's the framing, and then I have to do the top. So the top, notice how I didn't go past that. The top one, and again, that would be on its side. So that's a half a square is going to go from there, running across. And this will come down like so. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight this so you can see this piece right here is going all the way across. That is coming down below it. So I'm going to grab a different highlighter color. Let's go with orange. Just so you can see this stops right there. And this one stops right there. All right. So these are called the trimmers. So the trim boards. So I'm going to write trim. Trim. I want you to do the same. So trim boards. Okay, so to support the trim boards, so they're not just like loose and wobbly around, we're gonna put in what they call a king stud. So we're gonna stud it out. So right next to it, you're gonna put another stud, even though that's not part of like our 16-inch pattern. We're gonna add that stud, but this is gonna go all the way to the top. So from here down, and how thick are you making this? It's a half a square. So all these 3-inch squares, you're just going to do a half of one. All right, and that would go all the way up here too. So we're going to take that and we're going to put a stud called a king stud. King stud. And king stud frames out the door, so it supports the trimmers. So adding my king stud, again, it's about a half of one. So I'm just going to make it that thick, going right on that line. And account for its thickness up here. What I'm going to do is grab another highlighter so you can see that this is a different line. So it doesn't get so confusing. We're going to go with yellow. So, king stud in yellow. Coming straight down, another king stud on this side, coming straight down. Okay, so now framing out my door. Now I need supports at the top. Okay, so do you remember where those studs are supposed to go? Actually, I need one other thing before I put those in. Dang it, we need a header. So headers are going to go this way. They are thicker boards. Every city or state has their own code for it. It's definitely thicker. So what we're going to do is go with the side of the piece of wood. So this would, in reality, if this was an actual 2x4, this would be the 4-inch side. So that's counting for that. And if you're wondering how thick that is, so this was a half of a square, so this would be a square and a half. So a square and a half. So I'm going to put the header in. I'm going to label it header. I'll do it in marker so you can see it a little better. Header. Alrighty. How about I color the header another color just so you can see it better? We will go with the blue. So this is my header. And again, I made that, it's kind of pretty much the thickness of this piece of wood, which is about a square and a half. Now I can go back to the studs. So this stud down here is not going to run through the door, but it's going to get carried up there. So the stud, which would be right there, and again, that's about a half square. That's where my one stud is. And then this one, which was cutting through the door, I'm just extending that up, going up to here, and accounting for the thickness, which is about a half. And remember, these are going on their side. So these type of studs are called cripple studs. So I'm going to just draw an arrow. Cripple, C-R-I-P-P-L-E, stud. So these are short studs. That's all they are. They're short studs. And now the easy part, you just put in the rest of your studs. That was the most complicated part. So I'm going to grab my pencil, and where I made my stud marks down here, I'm just going to apply them. I'm not going to make adjustments for 16 inches based off of the door. I'm just putting them where they're supposed to go. So this one went here to here. Again, extending that, doing a half a square to count for the thickness. Bam, one stud. Skipping those because I have them up there. Now down here, there's another stud going here. And again, I draw extending that line. And a half a square to count for the thickness. Again, doing the next one all the way up, half accounting for the thickness. And my last one. Bam, bam. So looking at this, I'm going to get rid of these square, this right here. So I should have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 king stud, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way across. I'm excluding the trimmers. Okay. You are done framing, so now it's time to go build that. Again, please make sure to get your full points. Yet you have labeled a typical stud, the bottom sole plate, the top plate, the king studs. You just have to label one side. Your trim. This is also trim. I just did a different color just so you can see how it gets laid out. Your header and your cripple stud. Alrighty. If you have any questions, again, I will be floating around.